Welcome to Warrior Work. I'm Coach Hill, and today I'm going to show you how to take this practice chain whip that we showed you how to create and do the opening section of the chain whip form, do the opening movements. The chain whip is really about 10% technique and about 90% practice. So I'm going to show you both with the practice chain whip and a regular chain whip. So it goes inside your hand, grips onto the metal tape or whatever you have here. We then kind of fold it up. So we get to the tennis ball. So we have two different grips. We start with our feet together. We sink down, do a big outward circle, turn to our right, do a big inward circle, snap kick with our left foot. As we snap kick with our right foot, we throw it out, and we do our downward X's, which we covered up before in the previous segment. Okay? So to show you that from the rear position, again, we fold it up. Start with our feet together. Sink, outward circle, inward circle, front kick, front kick. We have our downward movement. So we have our downward X's. Now, from our downward X's, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing wraps. The first section is all about wrapping, okay? Wrapping the rope around our body. And I'm going to go ahead and switch to the real chain whip. Wrap it around our arms. So you've got your downward X. In the first segment, you want to, again, get used to the flexible weapon. So we're going to put our arm out. We're going to let it wrap up our forearm. Palm is up. I then turn to the back. Palm is up. I'm going to turn my palm to a down position to let it unwrap. So I have my upward, letting it wrap around the arm, turning it. I'm going to do this just from the side so you can see it easier. Letting it wrap. Turning it. Letting it unwrap to the front. Again, this is a good exercise just to do. Wrapping, turning, unwrapping. This gets you used to that wrapping motion. A lot of times people are very leery at first when it's wrapping around their body, wrapping around their arms. So we start with the arms to get that to relax. Then we start going 1, 2, turn it. 1, 2, turn it. 1, 2, turn it. 1, 2, turn it. The next one is a little more challenging, okay? Because you got to get used to the chain whip being close to your face, maybe even brushing your nose once in a while. I'm going to bring my elbow up. I'm going to put my left hand close to my body. I'm going to bring my elbow up to a horizontal position, parallel to the floor. I'm going to use my fingertips to, as it wraps around my elbow, flick it. So again, a little hard to do slow, but again, my elbow comes up to a horizontal position, I turn my waist, and I use my fingers to flick it off. It's going to actually accelerate the chain. That's a little bit trickier one to do. It takes a little more time, a little more comfortable to be comfortable with. Okay, from that side, once I'm on the other side, let's see, well, it will change to this side so you can see it's probably a little easier. So we have the flick on this side. On this side, I'm just going to let it roll over my elbow. Okay? I'm going to shoot it out. So it's going to, my elbow again is at a horizontal position. Okay? So elbow comes up, flick here, elbow comes up, and I flick it over the elbow. Flick, flick. So I turn again my waist. A lot of it is coming in from sway tree, from the Tai Chi moves we teach. Okay? So we have our opening movements. Letting it open up. Drop, outward circle, inward circle. Kicking out. Downward, elbow, or wrists on your forearms. You can do this again 2 or 3 times until you're comfortable with it. Ultimately, you're just going to do it 1 time. Elbow, elbow. Again, do that a few times. Elbow, elbow. And then we're going to add in a flick. So the flick, as we're doing the chain whip, we just let our wrist relax, and I'm going to flick it. So again, all I do is flick the wrist to get a little bit more speed and a little bit more propulsion. And again, we're going to do it on this side, and then we're going to do it on this side. So a flick, and a flick. And then you just make that one motion, flick, flick. From your downward X. This is probably the most challenging part. We covered this briefly in the last segment on the first chain whip exercises, my palm has got to turn into an up position to take this above my head. In place as it's swinging above my head, I'm just going to put my left arm out. I'm going to let it die on my arm, palm down. I reverse the direction, and I let it die on my arm. From here, okay, if I'm just doing my circles, I can see my circle. If I want to shoot it out, I catch it between my thumb, index finger, and I let it shoot. Okay. If I ever want to change direction, I just let it flip out from underneath my arm. I'm going the other direction again now. So let me show this from the rear position. A little bit easier to follow along. Again, I'm going to let it die out. Do my downward. Here's my upward from our first exercise that we did. From here, my palm is going to turn up and come above my head. You might find that to be the most challenging thing initially. From the circle above my head, I let it die on my arm. Circle, die on my arm. Circle, die on my arm. Circle, die on my arm. As you get used to that, then, as I let it die on my arm, I'm going to change to a bow stance in this direction. I'm going to turn and change to a bow stance in this direction. Okay? So, then we're actually going to be moving our feet, doing that stepping that we did in the first exercise with that as well. Okay, so let's take a look at it up to that point. Let's do it from behind. So you should have been practicing enough by now. Again, the nice thing about YouTube videos, you can stop them and practice, go back to it. So, sink, turn, outward circle, inward circle, jump, kick out, downward X, wrap around the arm, wrap around the arm, wrap around the elbow, wrap around the elbow, flick it, turn the hand, step 1, 2, let it die out, step back with the right foot, and let it die out. From there, I flick it, and then I use my downward X's to come back to my original position. Again, we have to turn, palm up, step right, step behind left, step back right, close, flick, come back. As you get comfortable with that, you then want to turn, jump, hop, step. Flick it, and come back to center. And you're back to stage 1. So work on all of those movements. Again, feel free to email me if you have questions. First section of the basic chain whip form. Go out and have some fun, go out and play, and we'll see you next time for the next segment.